Hi, this is Wayne Hall, and I've had the now dubious distinction of having administered my first MCHAT screening. And I am delighted to report that I think overall it went well. My participants were a 40-year-old mom, African American female, and her child is 18 months old. Sweet little girl, such a cutie. And yeah, the experience of both being with the mother and the child and doing what I did was very great, very great. The first, but really good. The child did awesome. From every indication, there is no reason for concern as it is right now with the child. And so mom can rest assured that, in line with what the doctors have said at her follow-ups or checkups, there's nothing to worry about at this stage. And mom now has the tools to keep on top of it by way of her checklist to make sure that even in between doctor visits, there's nothing that happens that she overlooks. Mom felt very, very good about it. She pointed out that she's always been celebrating the accomplishments of the child, but not even realizing from a formal standpoint, I should say, that the child, or from a developmental standpoint, that the child's actually progressing as expected, based on the established developmental activities at her age. So mom realized, and in her words, how much is taken for granted by just doing this exercise. And she was delighted to know there's a checklist that she could post on her refrigerator and monitor even in between doctor visits. I learned quite a bit, to be honest with you. I learned how much we, like mom, we take for granted. I learned how much every little thing a child does or does not do is a part of their development or lack thereof. So we really cannot rule out anything a child does, especially in their early stages of development, as, oh, it will be okay, or it's a not it's of not it isn't of any significance, because this showed me that every single thing a child does is indicating some form of individual development, whether it on any of the four areas in which we looked, whether it be social or emotional, language and communication, cognitive or physical development. So I learned that. I also learned how tough it is if a parent will have to accept what they don't consider to be good news. And by that, and the way I kind of sense that is, for instance, mom's response to the question about being deaf was, like, are you kidding me? So what if it was the case? So, yeah, I also learned a lot in terms of what to look for in the development of a child, and signs of whether or not this development is happening. I saw where if the child is losing skills they had already have, which we refer to as regression, that it's a key indicator that something might be off with their development. I also learned that by staying in tune with the developmental expectations of the child, I can also, in my plans for the students with on the autism spectrum disorder range, be able to come up with practical goals and objectives for them to work on in their development in all these areas. So yeah, I really did learn a lot more that I'm probably even able to express. It felt like a lot, and I had no clue the CDC did what it did also. So anyway, um, oh, would I improve the screening process in the future? I don't know, because I get the feeling this was really done at a high level and encompassed just about everything that you need to look at in a way where it didn't get too watered down and at the same time wasn't really leaving out anything important. I honestly admire it. So I don't know. As far as the overall process, though, all I can say is we can probably provide incentive for parents to, you know, be more aware of their child's development and not wait until doctor visits or just use a doctor's opinion, but educate themselves to the point where they can be aware prior to a professional seeing the child. Uh, what portions of the tool seemed irrelevant? I began to feel like a lot of the questions that, for instance, if the parent says, yes, the child points, do I need to really go into what the child points to? Um, and then I'll ask myself questions like that, and then I kind of feel like, but then it might tell you if it's a fixation that could be attributed to some form of ASD. So I'm going to say it's perfectly relevant right now. And unless you're going to really chip away at the specifics of it and make it more of a micro application, I don't see how you can make it any more relevant, right? Problems, scoring. I really had to figure out the scoring. Um, and I guess it just took a little more reading. But scoring was a challenge. Now, uh, explaining to the parent was the next challenge. So, scoring, explaining to the parent what I was doing and what it involved and what the responses meant were challenging. What else? What problems did I encounter? Other than that, um, the flow charts, they can be a little challenging to follow, but then once you get the hang of it and how and what they are aimed at pulling out, you kind of get it. So, and if only my webcam had worked the first couple times I tried, I'd have probably finished this assignment a long time ago. But other than that, not a lot of problems. So I'll finish this by saying I thoroughly enjoyed this process. I have learned a lot about what goes into screening, and I'm in a better position now to instruct and create goals and objectives for my students with ASD, because I am going to be a lot more cognizant of where they need to be developmentally. And so I can bridge that gap better with the knowledge and information of what you actually look for and what they're supposed to be doing versus just looking at the child or watching them do a test and saying, okay, we'll work on these goals or those objectives. This is more of a structure and a base from which to do all that stuff. So there goes my feedback. Hope it has been helpful. And thank you for listening to Wayne Hall.